So what have we learned from the Kavanaugh hearings? Christine Blasey Ford's testimony was compelling, but it was also confusing. At times it was like watching People's Court. Rachel Mitchell asking direct questions, getting direct answers, and just when it was getting somewhere, the Democrats would start talking. We'd go from a procedural line of fact-finding to high emotional drama. But then this guy broke through.
I would never do to them what you've done to this guy. This is the most unethical sham since I've been in politics. This is not a job interview.
Yeah.
This is hell. This is going to destroy the ability of good people to come forward because of this crap.
He reminds me of when I'm at the rental car counter and I wanted the convertible Sebring, but they didn't have any convertibles. But that was amazing. Anyway, but at the end of this, did we learn any new facts about a 35-year-old incident? Look, I still don't know what happened. I didn't go to school with Kavanaugh or Ford. Will an FBI investigation give us more answers? I don't know, but I believe that they believe their stories. So here's what I do know. Political tribalism now includes public acts of personal destruction. It's ghoulish. The Democrats could have avoided this show trial by acting immediately when they first got the letter instead of sitting on it, which led to a twisted circus that ruined reputations, humiliated victims, and their families. The lesson in politics, collateral damage, is now totally acceptable. Who cares if you destroy a family or two? You still block that seat. Good for you. We looked hard to find a group of people more civil than the hearings. Here's what we found. So maybe it's not so bad, but maybe Michael Moore was right after all. Time to move to Canada. What are your thoughts about the hearings in general? Where obviously they're doing a week-long FBI investigation. General thoughts on this, Madison, as a lawyer?
I think Lindsey Graham really did say it best when he said, you want a fair process? We came to the wrong town at the wrong time, my friend.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what it's come down to. Nothing about this has been fair. You wouldn't be able to get a search warrant or an arrest warrant for something like this. And we now have an FBI investigation. Of course, taxpayer money is funding that into something that we're not going to have any more answers on in a week from now. I would bet my life on that. We're not going to have any more information. They're saying they're going to interview Mr. Judge. He already presented his statement under penalty of perjury.
Yeah, so what's he going to do?
What is he? I don't think he's going to change his story. That would be insane.
Yeah. Tyrus, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think this testimony changed any minds?
No, I think that's the issue we have in this country now. Nobody's mind's being changed, period, on anything. And I don't think either way, both people were credible. I think the crime is that they just happen to be involved with our Senate. I think that's the issue. I think that's the issue. I think that if never there was a time now for term limits on the Senate, it is now. The fact whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, enough. The fact in this country that we have 51 to 50 votes, that we have all Democrats on one side, that's not what you were elected for. Your job was to get the best deal for the American people, not your own thing. And all we're seeing is, even after today, when the deal was made, basically, we're going to pass him through, rightfully so, because we don't have enough evidence to say otherwise, and we're going to still do an FBI investigation. So the right thing to do for the Democrats is a show of good faith. For them meeting them halfway was to vote yes. We all agree we're going to vote them through, and then we're going to investigate it. That would have been a message to the American people, like, these guys get it. But no, that's not what they really want. Because it's not about that. It's the civil war in the Senate that we all have to deal with. It has nothing to do with whether this woman was assaulted or not. That's why they won't commit to one side or the other. We believe both people, but I have to say no. I believe both, but I have to say yes. The Senate is disgraceful, and we should, regardless of your party affiliation, enough is enough. We need to start getting new Republicans in there and new Democrats in there and independents in there and people who are actually going to work for the people and not themselves. It was disgraceful.
Kat, what are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know. And I know that that is going to be a huge disappointment to all of the certainly millions, if not trillions of people who watch me and
Yes.
and they decide what to think based on what I think because they admire me so much.
Oh, I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've
so
seen it.
I hate, but I really just don't. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't there. I don't know.
Yes.
I wander.
Do you know, Kat?
Same as last week. I feel like I'm wandering around in a forest, and I see all these people on both sides who claim to know for sure, and they're so raw about it on both sides. And I think that a lot of people are deciding based on partisanship. They're not deciding based on the facts, because based on the facts, how could you know?
No one will ever know.
No one will ever know.
And I'm telling you, the one thing I've learned, Charlie, is that the nature of memory is imperfect. And we're talking. I do believe that they believe their stories, and both stories are probably flawed. But I don't know. To echo Kat, but I do think that the progress that we're making is in the area of understanding memory over time, that we have to start thinking about, like, what is true in somebody's head is not true in somebody else's.
I don't trust my memory from this morning.
No, neither do I.
Much less like last week.
I had to tell you to put on pants.
And I don't even do any drugs anymore.
Anymore. It's been 3 weeks.
But no, I would say actually I did change my mind listening to the testimony. Going in, I thought that Dr. Ford was a political. I thought she was politically motivated. I thought she was trying to take out this guy, and doing everything that she could to just, because the first time she ever uttered his name to anybody was after he'd been floated as a potential Supreme Court nominee. Listening to her testimony, I found it riveting, and I found her totally believable. And I came away thinking, my goodness, obviously this woman is not what I thought she was. But at the end of the day, not to do exactly what Tyra said is he's sick and tired of, but then you listen to Brett Kavanaugh and what he said, and I totally believed him.
Yeah.
And at that point, you can't prove it, you can't know. So all you can do then is evaluate all the other evidence.
Right.
And when you evaluate all the other evidence, no rational person can come down on any other decision, but that they didn't prove their case.
Right.
But one thing that I would say that is different today, and I think this is a very good thing in America, that is different today. 30 years ago, or 20 years ago, Bill Clinton would have sent his war dogs out to call her trailer trash and say that, oh yeah, you can get anybody to say anything if you just drag a $20 bill through a trailer park. That's not acceptable now.
Yeah.
And this woman was, whether you Republican, Democrat, by and large, you can't find a single person on the Republican side who trashed her or did anything but said, we want to hear her out. And it was totally respectful. And that is a tremendous improvement over the Clinton years when Paula Jones was called trailer trash.
Right.
And a liar.
Did you want to?
I have a question, Greg. You never get asked questions, but I have a question for you besides the fact you're always negative to me on the monologues, but forget that. Is it possible, because it always goes back to the leak for me real quick.
Yeah.
Is it possible that Feinstein sat on this because she didn't think it had enough credibility?
Feinstein is denying that she leaked it. She then looked to her staff, and the staff said, we didn't do it, but we don't know that. So she seems to be saying that maybe the victim leaked it, so she's throwing the victim under the bus. It's all a mess, but we got to move on.